So hello everyone, my name is Roxanne. I'm a third year PhD student in English language and linguistics, and my research focuses on the history of English slang words from the 18th and 19th century. So in this short presentation, I just really want to give you a bit of a taster of a secret language that was spoken by criminal gangs at that time. Oh, here's an old pal of mine. I said, how are you? Slanger Shimali, what luck do you cut now? Why, you're being a rum squeeze of the spell last darky. I was white prigging. We made a regular stall for a chicken breeder, but the call was up to us and we couldn't do him. So I guess most people have no clue what I just said. So I said the bit on the left, and I provide the English translation. So basically it was a random snippet of a conversation between two thieves in a public house, and they were talking about what they've done last night, stealing handkerchiefs. So the term that is used to describe this type of slang is called cant, and according to this definition, it refers to a special type of vocabulary used by certain groups of people that is unintelligible to anyone but themselves, so hence the confused jargon used by these chief fathers and nourishers of disorder. So who are these people then? So who are the speakers? Now, this type of language tends to be associated with people living on the lower margins of society. So again, think about thieves, about criminals. And I think the most famous example are the group of thieves in Charles Dickens' novel Oliver Twist. Now, what's interesting is that we find that this type of language is very well documented in historical documents, such as criminal biographies, novels, and even canned dictionaries. And those works aim to give the general public a kind of insight into the oddities and habits of the underworld. Now, the only research that has been done so far is on those canned dictionaries, or basically word lists. But what you can see here is that it actually doesn't really give us a lot of contextual information. So you can see the meanings, but they don't really say, how often these terms are used, by whom, and why they were used. Because one of the things about the canned language, and also slang words in general, is its meaning. So what we're here dealing with is a type of language that cannot be understood in a straightforward sense. So as opposed to kind of ordinary meanings. So let me just illustrate this with an example. A word like gammon. I think that word also exists in your kind of mental lexicon, and it refers to a big chunk of meat, or it can be used as a short form for the word backgammon, the game. So that's the kind of what we would see as the ordinary meaning of the term. Now, as you might have guessed, this term has a slightly different meaning when it's used by 18th century criminals. So it can either refer to the language of Camden itself, or it can be used in the expression to stand gammon to describe that someone needs to be on the lookout while their friends are doing dodgy stuff. So basically the point here that I want to make is that if you want to understand like slang words and cant, you really have to study those words in the wider context in which they're used. So by context I really mean the textual context, so to get into the kind of discourse, but also the kind of the audience and who's using those terms as well. Now, talking about text, the data, a lot of those historical documents that I'm studying has been digitized, and there are two brilliant databases for 18th century text. So I'm using the 18th century collection online and the Old Bailey proceedings. And here's just, this is an excerpt from a text from the Old Bailey proceedings, and these all contain trial reports, so basically what people have said in court in the 18th century. So this is just an 18th century thief who's talking about her victim, and all the pink words are the canned words that she uses to describe her victim. Now, in terms of its social function, cant serves as a kind of jargon, so if the thief is using those funny words, they're using it to talk about the criminal enterprise. But what's also interesting is that cant can also tell us quite a lot about social identity and also linguistic stereotypes that we have about people. Because a lot of those historical documents, if you read them, they all seem to present or create this social reality of a world that is very threatening, You've got these thieves, the underworld, who are having different practices, they've got their own language. It is scary, it's exotic, we should be scared and afraid of it, and it's also quite negative in a way as well. But what I'd like to do in my PhD is tell you another story, one that hasn't been told, and one that's actually a bit more optimistic and positive as well. Because what I found in my data was that there was a high concentration of canned terms in a genre called canned songs or ballads. And this is just an example where instead of creating a kind of anxiety, scare a lot of people, they actually seem to create a very happy atmosphere. They're singing about gambling, about dancing, about sexual intercourse as well. So here's an example from a text from Echo, where the highlighted words, the ladies, showing off their naked bums. It's a very promiscuous scene where basically they're just almost celebrating the scandalous lifestyle of criminals. So if I could summarize my argument in 20 seconds, it's basically that Kant is not so much about the dictionary meaning or the kind of lexical meaning, but really about the social meaning. So especially the attitudes that, how do we characterize social groups, and what this can tell us about the way that we see people and characterize people. And the whole point of this is to sort of get a better understanding of also the way in which people use non-standard language in general, and because people apparently never seem to say what they mean, and that's why I'm really fascinated with this topic. So thank you.